Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Chad Smith Podcast. Today we're going to be covering another Mysterious Michigan episode, number 3. And I'm joined, as always, by my awesome co-host, right here from Michigan, Mr. Big Willie.
That's true. That's true. Today it's nerdy Big Willie. Big Willie and nerdiness. But
Nerdy Willie.
Nerdy Willie. There's nothing wrong with a big nerdy Willie. Nothing at all. You can have whatever you need. But yeah, Mysterious Michigan, man. I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, this is starting to be a pretty cool thing we're doing here on Sundays.
Hey, not to mention, too, let's just tell people right off the bat. Guys, we already know what we're doing next week. So we'll be covering the 1994 UFO flap that took place across the western side of the state of Michigan there. And I'm pretty excited about that one because there's going to be recording, some audio clips, recordings and stuff. They're not great. They're really bad. But we'll have that between meteorologists, the severe weather tracking, as well as sheriffs and deputies and all kinds of stuff. So if UFOs are your jam, come back next show. Maybe this one's not your jam. Maybe ships aren't your thing. You're like, I'm not into it. I'm not feeling the ship thing.
Yeah.
But you know what? Ships happen, and they matter too, Chad. This is true.
That's right. Ships happen. And I've got my my Michigan hat on today.
Oh my gosh.
Found it underneath my bed. I'm like,
the Yoopers.
Gotta dust that off and use it for the Yoopers.
You know what? I heard somebody the other day talking about that. Actually, they were talking about the Yoopers, and they called them the Uppers. He goes, "There's the Uppers. People call them the Uppers over there." And I was like,
nope.
He's not from Michigan.
He's not from Michigan.
He's not from Michigan.
The Uppers.
But he was trying to say it like Yoopers, but with the word Uppers.
That's funny because, I've lived here my whole life, and I've never heard anybody say the Uppers.
No one's ever said the Oopers or the Uppers. I'm sorry, the Uppers. They've said the Yoopers.
What's up, Jake Smith? Paranormal. We got a whole chat room full of people.
Oh, yeah, let's say hi to what's up with everybody. Who all's in here? Who was waiting?
There's quite a few.
What took so long to get started?
We even have Bree in here tonight. We've got Bree the Goat in here. We've got Jake Smith. Cassie from Forensic Mystics is in here. What's up, Cass? Sunsaber's in here.
What's up, brother?
Heck yeah. Sam from Arden Paranormal. Thanks for having us on earlier today. That was a fun time.
It was a good time.
Oh, she's paging you. Calling Big Willie.
Oh, man. Willie. Yeah, I don't know. Chad, I was like, Chad, we can go live whenever you're ready if you want to hit the live.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man.
Got Linda Blank in here. She's looking for a Michigan boys fix.
Ooh.
So let's do her proud. We got Wally in here from Wally's World 420. Asking if my scooter got a flat. Man, I wish it was warm enough to ride a scooter right now.
They see you rolling.
How's it going? How's she going?
How's she going, eh?
And Jake Smith. Always got Jake Smith in the chat.
Did we miss Sonny? Sonny's in here too. What's up, Sonny?
Oh, yes, all the way at the top. What's up, Sonny? How's it going, man? I didn't scroll up far enough.
You know, if you didn't say hi to him, he'd be like, you son of a building block.
You son of a building block. Mother scratcher.
Mother scratcher.
Yeah,
what French toast you think this is? Some kind of game? Oh, Spooky. Good to see you. Yes, not only did the Lions win, but they dominated. 40-20?
Dominated.
42, something like that. It was a good time. It was a good game. Good time to be a Michigan fan right now. We got Michigan's now playing in the playoffs, right? In the college playoffs. You know what, guys? For those, nobody in this chat really cares, but I'm just going to say it because it's exciting. History could be made with the college playoffs this year because Michigan and Ohio State have only ever played each other one time every single year. We all know about the rival. They play each other at the end of the year, right? This year going in, they're both undefeated. Ohio State's been dominating us for about 16 years. We won the last 2 straight now. And they got voted in last minute to the playoffs. So what this means is if Ohio State beats Georgia in the semifinals, we could have a Michigan-Ohio State national championship game.
Whoa, that would be crazy.
Bro, that would break the... That'd be wild.
The ultimate
We've never played each other twice in a year, ever. I mean, we're talking, guys, like 100 and how long have we played in them? 142 years or whatever we've been playing Ohio State. I don't know if it's 142, but I think it's like 128 years we've been playing each other. We've never played twice in a year.
That's impressive. That would break the matrix.
Just break it all.
Boom.
Oh my God.
Morales.
Brasselhoff in the house.
And Brassel. Man.
Wreaking havoc. 215. Tell me, G. Oh my gosh, look at this. A Facebook user says, "What's happening, y'all?"
You know what? I'm wondering if that's Papa Willie. I had a weird feeling that it's probably Papa Willie.
Is it Papa Willie?
I don't know.
What's up? And I love you, random citizen, whoever you might be.
Dude, I don't even know how we check the Facebook feed.
Well, you'd have to go on to Facebook and then pull up the actual Facebook.
Oh, there you go.
Like
it is
thing
Papa Willie.
Oh my God,
Right.
was it? Look at you cool one eater.
I was right. Okay. It's Papa
Solid
Willie.
and impressive. But yeah.
So, what are we doing here tonight? Are we going to be talking about the Edmund Fitzgerald?
I think we are. Somebody wants to. We're going to do this thing.
That's
We're going to
what
make Jake happy.
Dude, Jake's all about it. He's been sending me a lot of stuff. He's been really interested in this one. So
It's a wild one. And if no one is familiar with it tonight, that's obviously what we're here for. We're here to satisfy your needs. But it is a really mysterious kind of case in the sense that we still to this very day do not have clear-cut answers. And I always like things that are kind of open-ended, even though they can be a little frustrating. It's a little I like a good mystery, and this leaves it wide open for debate. Which, if you guys, when this show is over, even if you're watching it back later, leave what you think happened in the chat, or excuse me, in the comments. Let us know what you think.
I've already come to my conclusion.
Oh my gosh, Chad, you're done. You already know what happened.
Well, mine's pretty basic, cut and dry. Like, I think this is exactly what happened. Boom, done. But we'll see.
Ooh.
I want to see
Alrighty.
what you say
Alrighty.
first. But
All right,
Jake said he took his pants off for this one. He is ready to roll. Man,
he's Carolina ready again. I'll tell you that.
inspiring,
Right?
Jake. That is inspiring.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So.
All right. So let's see. I think I'm just going to
gosh.
get into the basic history of it before we get into.
The meat and taters.
Yeah, I've got like some basic history and then some facts we can pull up too, just to get people familiarized with it.
Sounds like a plan, my man.
So Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was the one invested in the iron and minerals industries on a large-scale basis, including the construction of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which represented the first such investment by any American life insurance company. So this thing was funded and built by a life insurance company out of Wisconsin.
It's a little counterintuitive, right? Like, is it your job to insure things, not build things that are basically could potentially end up costing you money? I mean, ships are never cheap, right? Like,
Well, you know what they say about boats, bust out another 1,000. Where I'm thinking if it's a ship, he's probably busting out another 10,000.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, I mean, ships are big liabilities, you would think, and
Oh,
an
yeah.
insurance company funding one just seems kind of strange, but especially one that went down.
Very
In
true.
1957, they contracted the Great Lakes Engineering Works, which actually I just found a picture of that before we went on here, so I'm going to pull that up while we're checking it out. This is what the place looks like here, the Great Lakes Engineering Works.
Ooh. Look at that. I mean, just God's green earth being polluted right there. I mean, they were just like, roll that coal, baby.
Lots of pollution.
That's right.
So this was 1957. They contracted the Great Lakes Engineering Works of River Rouge, Michigan, to design and construct the ship within a foot of the maximum length allowed for passage through the soon-to-be-completed St. Lawrence Seaway. So this thing was massive. It was right on the very edge of being too long to pass through the St. Lawrence Seaway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the ship's value at the time was $7 million, which today would be about $50.5 million.
A cool 50.
Cool $50
That's what I'm gonna
million.
call it. I wouldn't even tell them $1.5 million. I'd be like, it's a cool 50. It's a
How are we going to picture it? It's a cool 50. You got it.
cool 50. Anybody wants to sponsor the show out there for Chad and I, just letting you guys know it's a cool 50.
It's gonna be a
50-50
cool 50
split.
grand.
50 grand.
Originally coal-fired, her boilers were converted to burn oil during the 71-72 winter layup. In 69, the ship's maneuverability was improved by the installation of a diesel-powered bow thruster.
A bow thruster?
Yeah, so that's for docking, to get into dock. You know?
I love it.
Docking.
I love that it included the words docking and bow thruster in this same sentence. There's no way. I'm going to let you keep going. You're doing so good. I'm so sorry. I'm derailing. Go ahead.
By ore freighter standards, the interior of the Edmund Fitzgerald was luxurious.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately,
It really was.
I have swept the internet and I can't find actual images of the interior.
I
don't know if
know.
you found any?
I did not, but I know that they did talk about the interior. And listen, for being a working girl, I mean, this was a hard working girl here. She was very luxurious, especially for being, like I said, a working. But this was not some sort of cruise ship. This was a full-on production ship that did a lot of work over the years.
Yeah, I saw the staterooms were larger than the rest of the industry standards for staterooms, and a lot of the stuff on the ship was just bigger and better than any other ships out there. Hey, Brent LeBlanc, good to see you, dude.
Oh my gosh, is this a relation to Lynn LeBlanc?
I was wondering if there's a relation.
Dude, that's why I shared it. As soon as I seen another LeBlanc, I was like, wait a second.
Could be. Oh, and he's making reference to docking. That's hilarious. Cool. So let's see here. Luxurious. The J.L. Hudson Company designed furnishings including deep pile carpeting. It had tile bathrooms, drapes over the portholes. It had leather swivel chairs in the guest lounge. There were 2 guest staterooms for passengers. Air conditioning extended to the crew quarters, which featured more amenities than usual. A large galley and fully stocked pantry supplied meals for 2 dining rooms. So this place
honestly,
is state of the art.
They had me with the swivel chairs. And then what was it? Pocket deep carpet? Is that what they said it was? What kind of carpet was that?
Included deep pile carpeting, whatever that means.
I mean, yeah.
It sounds good.
It sounds like a lot of things. It's deep piles of carpet. I mean, I just don't even know how you. That is like the sale, right? They're like, what kind of carpet? It's just piles of carpet, honestly. It's just piles of it. We've deep piled it in there. But to be real, I know I'm making a little fun of it here, but look at the ship from the outside. I mean, this is a classic kind of barge setup, and
classic.
It was a working ship. And to have these amenities, such as air conditioning, and what was it, you just said 58 was designed, I believe, somewhere in there, something like that?
Was it something like that?
I could be wrong on that. I think it's 58. We're going to say it's
57.
Oh, you're so close. Okay, so 57. Guys, air conditioning in 57? Like we said, a cool million. 50 million in today's money.
I don't want to go too crazy here with the facts that I don't know about, but I know that the town I'm in right now was like the head of air conditioning back in the day. Big air conditioner manufacturer here in town that went under.
I was going to say, it never did anything for there.
That'd be interesting if...
we should look into that.
Yeah, some of our parts were on the ship. Okay, I have a little bit further to get through here. Loading the Edmund Fitzgerald with taconite pellets took about 4.5 hours, while unloading it took 14 hours. So
it's always easier
to
load it than to unload it, right?
That's right. For 17 years, the Edmund Fitzgerald carried the taconite from Minnesota's Iron Range mines. Oh, I have slides for this I should be showing.
Oh, yeah, I can switch it if you need. Oh, heck yeah.
This is the Iron Mountain Mine in Duluth, Minnesota, where all the stuff was coming from.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say when they're in Minnesota, if people wonder where they're from, they're just like, I'm from the range. And that's what they mean. If they just say they're from the range, it means I came out with black lung, ready to go. Yep. You know what I mean?
And then the Detroit Iron Works was here. The Great Lakes Engineering Works. This is where the ship was actually built.
God, look at how long that thing is.
Yeah, man.
I mean, that puts it in a little more perspective. You can see some of those cranes there. Anybody can imagine how tall those towers are. Sometimes we just say a number, 60, 80. It doesn't really, register. But guys,
I don't think that's the ship.
Well, even if it's not, I mean, this one had to have been close. I mean, this is that's a very similar design.
That's true.
And the point being, look at that. It's a barn right there. And it's just dwarfing it. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yep.
You could fit, I don't know,
Lots of them.
probably 8 to 10 barns on that.
That's right.
That's an 8-barn boat right there.
Do you measure your boat length in barns by chance?
That's how I do it.
That's how I was all taught. Let's see. So in '69, the Edmund Fitzgerald received a safety award for 8 years of operation without a time off work injury. This is a safe ship.
Wow.
People were safe on this thing. Unfortunately, the vessel ran aground in '69, and she collided with the SS Hachlanga in 1970.
Wait, so literally the year that they received the award, they're like, you know what?
Yep,
She's been doing real good, the Fitz over there. Let's give her the award in '69.
Yep.
Wasn't our song '69 too? That's a great.
There's a lot of stuff
60,
involving
something
69.
like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it was the summer of '69. That's what I'm thinking of.
There you go.
Summer of '69, which is a real song, guys. But yeah, that's just hilarious. I mean, it's a little.
Yeah, after 8 years, they're like, here you go. Here you get a safety award for 8 years of awesome service. And then the year after, she collided with another ship and ran aground. She also, it says later that same year, she struck the wall of a lock. An accident repeated in 1973 and 74. One-ish. Yeah, I like that joke.
Repeated? So, like, who was the... I mean, I know we don't know this at the time, but, like, I wonder who the captain was, because they were like, you know what?
Yeah.
He's hitting the sauce a little.
Struck the wall in 70, 73, and 74. In 74, she also lost her original bow anchor in the Detroit River, which I don't think I have a picture of that, but it's actually still there right now at the museum there. None of these mishaps, however, were considered serious or unusual. Freshwater ships are built to last more than half a century, and the Edmund Fitzgerald would still be here if it had not have sank. So that's all I've got on the just brief history.
Yeah, well, that's a great job. That's what she was doing. She was working hard. She was a hard-working ship. Sailed over, like you said, all the Great Lakes. They made it within 1 foot, so it could hit all the canals. So it worked all of the Great Lakes back and forth, primarily running, as you said, from there in Minnesota and back to Detroit, and obviously parts of Wisconsin and whatnot. But yeah, it was. For those that maybe don't know, I mean, things don't go well with this. There's an end to this story. there's a fateful end. I think there's even a song that Chad was informing me about and I forgot to listen to before we started this.
There is a song. Lightfoot. Yeah, it's
Gordon Lightfoot.
You'll like it. We need to listen to it together. I got to see your reaction. It's a good one.
Man. All right. Well, so keeping that in mind, one would think we obviously in episode 1 we covered of the Mysterious Michigan, kind of the Michigan Triangle and the things that take place in Lake Michigan. And it tends to find out, as we look more around the world, and especially in the Great Lakes, these triangles are kind of everywhere. Anytime anything mysterious is happening, it seems like they just get formed around triangles where people, put points of contact. And I don't know if I think this one was what's considered the Wisconsin or the Minnesota Triangle off of Lake Superior there as well. So they have one out there. And obviously the event we're going to, mainly deal with is Lake Superior, which is like ridiculous. I mean, Chad had mentioned how like Lake Superior will mess you up, but I didn't really know it was like this dangerous. I didn't pull up any stats, but just off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, to this day, since we've really started tracking this, I want to say 10,000 people have drowned in Lake Superior. And I can't remember how many hundreds of ships have sunk.
Lots.
And of those, 3,000 or whatever it is, and of those, they rarely, if ever, find the bodies. And dating back even to the, Native Americans talked about this before, saying that, Lake Superior doesn't give up her dead, which is just, I mean, to put it in perspective, Lake Michigan, as we talked about with some of the rogue waves and the ships going missing, and what I was trying to tie this back to is that this is a more modern case. Maybe I can see where we hear, folklore of something happening in the 17 or 1800s, but this was in this, this took place finally, excuse me, the final date being 77, right? So somewhere right in there. We're going to find out in a second. We're here to educate you guys. So
we're here to educate you guys.
This took place, though. Point being, it's the more modern era. But Lake Michigan, the highest recorded wave ever found there, that if I recall correctly, was 10 foot. And the highest recorded wave, to give you an idea of difference between Lake Michigan and Lake Superior, the highest ever recorded wave off of Lake Superior, I believe, was 35 feet, or it was like 34 and a half feet, which is That's just ridiculous. That's probably the height of a barn. I mean, that's the height of a
Oh,
pole
boy.
barn right there. We're going to use that
Here
barn.
we are on
I'm going
Willie's
to
barn
ride it
measurements.
hard tonight.
Here's
We're
a
freaking fit it in.
basic 7,000 approximate number of recorded shipwrecks on the Great Lakes, resulting in 30,000 lives.
Wow. So 10,000, I think, was the drowned, but 30,000 lives lost in other incidents. Wow. My gosh. Wow.
Oh, we got the bots in here.
Yeah. Well, hey, they should come learn about these 30,000, people. Poor souls have been lost.
Yeah.
Lake Superior's 350 shipwrecks amount to approximately 5% of the Great Lakes shipwrecks. Let me read that again. Lake Superior's 350 shipwrecks amount to approximately 5% of all Great Lakes shipwrecks. So Lake Michigan's really the one that's like having all the shipwrecks, I guess, then, because
Yeah.
if it's only 5%,
Right.
it's really not.
Yeah, it's very low, isn't it?
I mean, that's still a shocking number. When you think about it, 7,000 is only making up 5%, guys. 7,000 is 5%. It's unbelievable.
Actually, that does say on the Great Lakes overall. 7,000 on the Great Lakes, resulting in 30,000 lives lost, but 350 in Lake Superior.
I got you. Okay.
But I see what you're saying, though. 350 out of 7,000 is kind of a lot lower number than I thought, because I thought Superior was like the most rambunctious and dangerous.
But yeah, Lake Superior is a rough one to travel, and we're going to jump into kind of what happened here. And this actually comes directly from a place that we can visit if Chad and I want to, the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum. And this is the article I'm reading from is directly from them in there, so I will make sure I drop a link to that. Maybe Chad will even add this to the show notes afterwards, so that if anybody's watching this back and just wants to be able to read over it, I don't think it's that hard. I don't know how hard it is to edit stuff afterwards. I can't remember.
Simple. I can do it right now while we're live, man.
Oh, man. Well, make sure I drop that link in the chat for anybody who is watching and wants to save it, or you can shave it. I don't care. It's yours to do with what you want. You can save or shave. It's up to you. And then I'll put this over here for Chad. And then we're going to jump into this, because this is a mystery, and we need answers. And we got Private Eye, Chatty Daddy, and Nerdy Big Willie on it for tonight. So
Nerdy Willie.
Let's get after it. All right. Excuse me. All right. This is called The Fateful Journey by Sean Lay, Development Officer. I don't want to poke fun at Mr. Sean Lay, because we might get to talk to him one day. Chad, do you think he named his own position?
Maybe. Has something to do with his name,
Well, I mean, did he just like make that? I'm in the development business, development officer.
Oh, yeah. It's like when people say that I'm a consultant. I'm in the consultant field of consultant.
I mean, technically, you could say you're an engineer and you could be making sandwiches at a restaurant. You're engineering a sandwich. It's like it's very vague, right?
I'm definitely a cheeseburger engineer. And just put me to the test. I'll show you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we got more Facebook users.
Hey,
What's
Facebook
up?
user. Hey, y'all. What's up?
We love you, random citizen. Okay, let's do this, Chad.
We love you, random citizen.
Have you never seen Megamind?
No.
It's a great cartoon. It's got Will Ferrell. Okay, I'm derailing us. Here, let's get back into the fateful journey here, okay?
Oh, it's Connor Flynn. What's up, Connor?
Oh, my man, Connor. Heck yeah. I seen you save that was a while ago. I don't know why I just thought it. As soon as I heard that cat. I just thought of that cat.
He saved that cat. That was awesome.
Thank you, Connor. Well, I'll tell you who needed Connor in their life was the Fitzgerald, and we're going to talk about why. The final voyage of the Edmund Fitzgerald began November 9th. You know what, Chad? Shoot, if we'd played our cards a little right here, without even planning this, we're like 1975. We're almost to the exact... No, we're past it because this is December. Let us continue. Began November 9th, 1975, at the Burlington North Railroad Dock Number 1 in Superior, Wisconsin. Captain Ernest McSorley, and I just feel like that's how he says his name, had logged her with 26,106 long tons of taconite pellets. What is a long ton, Chad, if we had to think about it? What is that?
A long ton?
Yeah, is that just sailor talk? When they say stuff that like they just say words, and you're like, what does that word? And it's like, there's the bow and there's the there's the port side, and like, you know what I mean? Like, is this like a thing, or is long ton a real measurement, like a pole barn height? You know?
It could be a barn full of material.
Just curious.
I'll look for that.
Yeah, all right. So 26,116 long tons of taconite pellets made of processed iron ore, heated and rolled into marble-sized balls, departing Superior about 2:30 p.m. She was soon joined by the Arthur M. Anderson. That's a good solid name there, too. Which had departed 2 harbors, Minnesota, under Captain Bernie Cooper. Bernie Cooper, to me, feels like maybe like a safe guy. Does he feel like a safe captain? You know, if you hear the last name Cooper, does that make you feel safe, or does he feel like a chance taker? Because I hear McSorley.
Just the first name, Bernie.
That's true. I've never met a wild Bernie in my life.
Wild Bernie.
That I'm aware of, at least. I mean, maybe you guys can prove me up. If there's a Bernie out there, hit me up. Let me know. We'll have a wild night together. But I hear the name McSorley, I automatically am like, this guy is like half Irish and 100% Scottish. Doesn't even make sense, but he is. He's just got whiskey on him at all times. And that's what I think. Not to say that he was a great captain, actually, but that's what I think of a little bit when I hear those 2 names.
You said the Anderson took off with it?
It did. Yeah, at 2:30 p.m. Because it had been sailing along. And this was something they and I might even get into this, but this was something that was pretty common with ships back then. They wouldn't sail too close to each other, but what they would do is use each other's radars, because we didn't have GPS necessarily at that time. At least to the free public market, but that's another story. And so they would use each other's radars to help kind of navigate what they were seeing out there. So the Arthur M. Anderson, which had departed 2 harbors. So Minnesota under Captain Bernie Cooper. The 2 ships were in radio contact. The Fitzgerald, being the faster, took the lead, with the distance between the vessels ranging from 10 to 15 miles. So that's, not too far, I guess. But man, that is such a big lake.
Just a short little fact here too is the Anderson is still cooking. It's actually older. The Anderson was built in like 50. God, I wish I knew the exact.
Yeah, it wasn't able to keep up, as they said, with the Fitzgerald because it was just a little bit older there. And McSorley was like, full steam ahead, eat my bubbles, Eat my Pretty sure that's a Nemo reference. I have so many cartoon references. It's kind of sad. Like all my stuff's cartoon based.
It's all right.
But
yeah, it was like 6 years older or something like that, 5 or 6 years older, and it's still on the water today. It's still being used.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how these things are built. They're built to work for a very, very long time. Arden Paranormal saying possibly that long tons could be referring to the shape of the containers.
Oh, could.
Maybe. All right. Okay. Still, they were within 10 to 15 miles of each other. Aware of a building November storm entering the Great Lakes from the Great Plains, Captain McSorley and Captain Cooper agreed to take the northerly course across Lake Superior, where they had been protected by highlands on the Canadian shore, because, those are friendly folk there. This took them between the Isle Royale and the Kinawa Peninsula. They would later make a turn to the southeast to eventually reach the shelter of Whitefish Point. What an exciting name. Just Whitefish Point. That's like, is there no...
Yeah, and that thing's way up there, too.
Is it like the only thing they caught out of it? I'm always so fascinated by the names that, a place gets a name, and Whitefish Point. Anyways, weather conditions continued to deteriorate. Gale warnings had been issued at 7 p.m. on November 9th, upgraded to storm warnings early in the morning of November 10th, while conditions were bad, with the winds gusting to 50 knots and seas 15 to 16 feet. Both captains, I think, but they were trying to say, I was going to say seas, if I'm not mistaken. That's one of those words for waves, right?
Seas, yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. So 15 to 16 feet, or excuse me, 12 to 16 feet, which is, I think the most exciting waves that I've ever endured were like maybe 4.5 foot, 5 foot waves. And even with that, I was like, ooh, like that. We had to go sit down on the front, right, to help, because the nose was bouncing too much because of the height difference. So I can't imagine a 12 to 16 foot wave. That's just insane.
And just real quick, the differences of the water too is like a lot of people think that it wouldn't be as bad in the lakes because it's a lake, it's an inland lake or whatever. But
yeah,
as bad as the ocean, but the ocean gets like deeper, like the wavelength is wider. So in the Great Lakes, your wavelength is much choppier.
Yep, they're very rough.
Yeah, it's a lot more rough, and it tears up ships. Kind of just tears them up a lot worse than the ocean does. So you would think that the ship wouldn't have to be as strong on the lakes there, but it does. It's actually a lot more choppier and beats up the ships a lot more than the ocean does. And the ocean is saltwater, so you're a lot more buoyant in the ocean. So the freshwater lakes have to take that into account as well.
Yeah, they call it the lake effect, and it is just basically a polite way of saying it's going to mess you up.
It's going to rock the world.
Yeah, you're going to remember its name. So both captains had often piloted their vessels in similar conditions. In the early afternoon of November 10th, the Fitzgerald had passed Michigan, what in the world's this? Michigan Picatin Island? That's a place? I didn't even know it was a place. Huh. Michigan Picatin. Okay. And was approaching the Caribou. Now this feels like a friendly name. Caribou Island. The Anderson was just approaching Picatin, about 3 miles off West End Light. Captain Cooper maintained that he had watched the Edmund Fitzgerald pass far too close to 6 Fathom Shoal on the north, or to the north of the Caribou Island. So he's having some concerns here that he thinks they were getting a little too close to the island, right? So he did, in his opinion. Maybe he's being, but Bernie's a safe guy. As we talked about, Bernie's a safe. He's middle of the road. He's gonna get us safely there, and he's not so sure. McSorley's like, hit. I'm just kidding. That was never. That's not a part of the story. Just to be clear, he was not drinking.
Jesus.
But when you have the name McSorley, it's like in your blood. You come out 2% whiskey. You can't help it.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's just the way she goes. All right. So he was too close for his liking. Where was this? Okay. So, okay. He could clearly see the ship and the beacon on Caribou he could clearly see the ship and the beacon on Caribou on his radar set and could measure the distance between them. Okay, so this is how he knew they passed too close to each other. Yeah. He and his officers watched the Fitzgerald pass right over the dangerous area of shallow water. By this time, snow and rising spray had obscured the Fitzgerald from sight, visibly 17 miles ahead on radar. So at this point in time, Fitzgerald's, a little bit younger, as you said, than Anderson, and she is just chugging along here.
20 miles an hour it could go.
20? That's unbelievable. At 3:30 p.m. that afternoon, Captain McSorley radioed Captain Cooper and said, "Anderson, this is the Fitzgerald. I have a fence railed down, 2 vents lost to damage, and a list I'm checking down." Now the last part, so we know for a fact he had a fence down, a rail down, and 2 vents lost or damaged. Far as, and a list I'm checking down, well, that's a little open-ended there.
I'm going down my list, checking stuff.
Yeah, we're just checking it. Yeah, I'm going to keep
But the 2 missing, what did you say was missing? The 2...
it was his 2, the 2 vents. Yeah, so he has basically railing, have a fence on the outer railing that it was down. And he did have a rail down as well. So he had a fence and a rail down, 2 vents lost or damaged. And I'm trying to remember what the vents, that's what pumps the water back in and out. Is that what that is, correct? Like water comes onto these ships, so like it vents it back out.
I was under the impression that it was 2 of the the containers that holds the material.
Ooh, like he'd lost some of the... Ooh. Well, that would suck. That would.
I'm gonna have to look back into that now because I thought it was those that 2 of those were like cracked open or they were missing the tops.
Okay. Well, while you're checking that, I'm gonna keep going just a little bit further here. So he said, and a list I'm checking down, and then this was the rest of him still speaking. Will you stay by me till I get to Whitefish? McSorley was checking down his speed to allow the Anderson to close the distance for safety. Captain Cooper asked McSorley if he had his pumps going, and McSorley said yes, both of them. Okay, so I do stand corrected. So it is the pumps that were pumping things in and out. So maybe those vents really were what they were carrying.
Yeah.
As the afternoon wore on, radio communications with the Fitzgerald concerned navigational information. Excuse me, the Fitzgerald concerned navigational information. I feel like that's a typo.
Probably.
But no extraordinarily alarming reports were offered by Captain McSorley. So I think what they were saying is that, let me try to reread. That's weird how one typo can throw you off, though. Radio communications with the Fitzgerald, I'm guessing probably said concerned navigational information. But there was no alarming reports offered by Captain McSorley. At about 5:30 or 5:20 p.m., so we went from 3:30? Yeah, 3:30, so not even 2 hours later. 5:20 p.m., the crest of a wave smashed the Anderson starboard lifeboat, making it unusable. Captain Cooper reported winds from the northwest by west 305 at a steady 58 knots, with gusts up to 70 knots, guys, and seas of 18 to 25 feet. So now we're getting winds between, almost 60-something miles an hour up to 80, give or take, and waves of 18 to 25 feet. Powerful enough that when it hit the boat, it was able to smash an escape. I almost said an escape pod. This is in Star Wars.
They probably would have helped him if they had an escape pod.
I'm telling you, isn't that what happened in the first one? I seen Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. They went under the water. They were in that little pod, and they were really safe. Even a fish tried to eat them, and they lived. So that's all they needed. This is ridiculous. According to Captain Cooper, about 6:55 p.m., so 1 hour had passed, he and the men in the Anderson's pilot house felt a bump. That's a quote. Bump. Felt the ship lurch and then turned to see a monstrous wave engulfing their entire vessel from the astern. I don't even know what that is. But it was taking them, and it was taking them hard. The wave worked its way along the deck, crashing on the back of the pilot house, driving the bow of the Anderson down into the sea. Hey, Chad, real quick. I'm trying to remember. The bow is the front, right?
Yep.
Port side is your right?
Left, I think.
Left? Okay, so maybe I'm guessing, I'm gonna just make an assumption here. Is it what was the term here? The A-star?
Astern.
A-stern? Is that your right?
The astern, behind a vessel, at or to the stern of the vessel.
Okay, so this thing came from behind them.
Yeah.
Okay, so it came out from behind. The wave worked its way along the deck, crashing down the back of the pilot house, driving the bow of the Anderson down into the sea. So I'm trying to picture this the right way. So it must have come up over the ship so much that it hit on the bow, because if it's saying the bow is your front, so if it's driving your bow of the Anderson down into the sea. I don't know why we're calling it the sea, by the way, guys. It's just Lake Superior. I mean, they could practically be mistaken for a sea, but it's not a sea here. Then the Anderson just raised up and shook herself off of that water barrage, just like a big dog. Another wave, just like the first one, or bigger, hit us again. Oh, this is a direct quote from Bernie. I watched those two waves head down the lake towards the Fitzgerald, and I think those were the two that sent them under. Wow. I don't think I had come across that before. So some pretty big waves.
That's the thing is these waves on this lake are on these lakes. Oh, I didn't mean to close that picture out. That was the cool one. You could have waves coming from one direction and waves coming from another direction, and they're all real choppy. So these boats just get tore up. They don't really have a chance to recover. One might be going down, and then while that one's going down, another one's coming in and slamming it from the other side. So on the ocean, they have time to recover with the wavelengths, but on the Great Lakes, you don't really have that time to recover, so they just get smacked all around.
Little foreshadowing, I'm going to say, go with your gut instinct on this one and what the movie might have shown. different case, but go with your gut. Usually we don't talk about the ships that made it home. So here we go. Let's keep keeping watch. Morgan Clark, the first mate of the Anderson, kept watching the Fitzgerald on the radar, set to calculate her distance from some other vessels near Whitefish Point. He kept losing sight of the Fitzgerald on the radar from sea return, meaning that the seas were so high. The waves, I'm going to stop calling these the seas. The waves were so high, they interfered with the radar reflection. Think about that for a second, guys. The waves were getting so high, they were blocking the ability for radar to penetrate.
That's crazy.
And we know penetration of radars is deep, usually.
I knew you weren't going to let that go.
I know. Probably could penetrate a whole barn if it needed.
First
mate Clark spoke to Fitzgerald one last time at about 7:10 p.m. Okay, so this is what the final conversation, guys. The Fitzgerald said this. Or excuse me, this was Morgan talking to them. Fitzgerald, this is the Anderson. Have you checked down? The Fitzgerald, yes, we have. Cooper responds, Fitzgerald, we are about 10 miles behind you and gaining about 1.5 miles per hour.
Wow.
I want to pick that up. I won't be bragging. So you're gaining about 1.5 miles per hour.
Let's pick it up a little there.
I know exactly right. Fitzgerald, there is a target 19 miles ahead of us. So the target would be 9 miles ahead of you. This is the response from the Fitzgerald. Well, answered Captain McSorley, am I going to clear? Now, I'm just going to keep reading this. Okay, so he's asking him, am I going to clear? Morgan responded to him, yes, he is going to pass the west of you. He responds, the McSorley does, well, fine. By the way, Fitzgerald, how are you making out with the problems? Asked Clark. The Fitzgerald, exactly, the infamous words, we're holding our own.
We're holding our own, brother.
And
Everything's going to be fine. We're holding our own.
God.
Roger that.
Yeah,
that was the last communication, right? The last transmission was...
Yeah, because what's his name responds here? Clark, or Morgan Clark here. He said, by the way, Fitzgerald, how are you making... Oh, sorry. He says, okay, fine. I'll be talking to you later. Clark signed off. The radar signal, or PIP, of the Fitzgerald kept getting obscured by wave return. And around 7:15 p.m., the PIP was lost. And again, but this time, did not reappear. Clark called to Fitzgerald again at about 7:22 p.m. So he let it go for a couple minutes. He's thinking, hey, maybe there's some waves. We know how big they are. They get up there, right?
Yep.
And then...
blocking out the signal.
And as he tried to get through, there was no answer. Captain Cooper, or Bernie as we know him, contacted the other ships in the area by radio asking if anyone had seen or heard from the Fitzgerald. The weather had cleared dramatically, his written report states. So at this point in time, actually I'm going to read just one little bit, and then we'll get into this a little bit before we jump into the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So he writes that it had cleared quite a bit. Quote, at this time, I became very concerned about the Fitzgerald. Couldn't see his lights when he should have, and then called the William Clay Ford to ask him if my phone was putting out a good signal, and also if perhaps the Fitzgerald had rounded the point and was in shelter. After a negative report, I called the Sioux Coast Guard because I was sure something bad happened to the Fitzgerald. The Coast Guard were at this time trying to locate a 16-foot boat that was overdue. So they were already tied up looking for this other boat, and he's eliminating all of his stuff, his gut feeling of like, okay, maybe it's just my phone, and they're like, no, it's working, and now we're back to, all right, I'm going to notify the Coast Guard, but they're looking for a boat already, which I don't know why there weren't more people working, I guess. I mean, how many people I guess nobody really cares about the Coast Guard, and so you really need the Coast Guard. Like,
that's
nobody...
the thing, dude, is I actually just heard that today when I was listening to somebody else's report on it, is that they contacted the Coast Guard and didn't hear back from them. So they just skipped past them and went and radioed to another ship.
Just like
it's like when they first tried contacting the Coast Guard, there was no response at first. So it was almost like they were already busy on something, on another project.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they were searching for the 16-foot boat. I guess that had not come in time.
We don't have time for that one. We got big ships missing.
So, okay, so right after that, so overdue. Okay, with the mounting apprehension, Captain Cooper, or Bernie as we like to call him around here, called the Coast Guard once again at about 8 p.m. and firmly expressed his concern for the welfare of the Fitzgerald. The Coast Guard then initiated its search for the missing ship. He said exactly what you said. What are you looking for? Screw that thing. It's a 16-foot boat. The guy's rich. He's probably got his own private. He probably got shipped out of there on his own private helicopter. He's safe. I didn't get to look up any information on the ship. Maybe they'll tell us about it. By that time, the Anderson had reached the safety of Whitefish Bay to the relief of all aboard. But the Coast Guard called Captain Cooper back at 9 p.m. Anderson, this is Group So. What is your present position? These guys, I think we really just take for granted just how connected we are nowadays. Like, it was a wild time. You could just go somewhere and people didn't know where you were at. That's even on a ship. They couldn't look it up. They had to call and be like, so where are you?
Exactly.
Where exactly?
Yep.
He responded, we're down here about 2 miles off the Parisina Island right now. The wind is northwest 40 to 45 miles here in the bay. It is calming down at all. And they responded, is it calming down at all? Do you think? He responded, in the bay it is, but I heard a couple of the salties talking up there, and they wish they hadn't gone out.
It's real bad out there.
More terms. When the salties are calling it off, when they're saying, no, it's too much, it's not good, right?
Saltwater ships. Yeah.
Do you think there's any possibility you could come about and go back out there and do any searching?
It's my favorite part right here, where they're like, hey, I know you made it safe and everything, and your ship's older, and it's a little slower, and you're probably really comfortable being in the port. Could you just flip that thing around and head back out there to do some looking? And he actually said yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is the kind of man Bernie is. And this was his direct response.
Yep.
Ah, God, I don't know. That sea out there is tremendously large. If you want me to, I can, but I'm not going to be making any time. Or excuse me, I'm not going to be making any time. No. I'll be lucky to make 2 or 3 miles in an hour going back that way. So it sounds like, again, the storm was pushing, kind of from back to front on this. So he'd now be fighting back into the storm. They responded, well, you'll have to make a decision as to whether you will be hazarding your vessel or not. But you're probably one of the only vessels right now that can get to the scene. We're going to try to contact those saltwater vessels and see if they can't possibly come about and possibly come back also. Things look pretty bad right now. It looks like she may have split apart at the seams like the Morale did a few years back. So now, I'm going to finish this up before we get into it, because I'm saying that, I have some questions. So, well, that's what I've been thinking, but we were talking to him about 7, and he said that everything was going fine. He said that he was going along like an old shoe. No problems at all.
Yeah, like an old shoe.
That's great. Well, again, do you think you could come back out and go out and have a look in the area? Man, they're really like, they're like, get your rubber ducky. Exactly. They were like, I don't care if you got a rubber ducky life vest. Get in there and swim out there and check it out.
Do it.
Just do it. Okay. Well, I'll go back out and take a look. But God, I'm afraid to go take a hell of a beating out there. I'll turn around and give her a whirl. But God, I don't know. I'll give it a try. I mean, that's all.
Yep.
And they responded, that would be good.
Give it a try.
Do you realize what the conditions are out here? This is when Bernie's letting him know, because old Bernie's, he's a straight, narrow guy. And listen to the reply from the Coast Guard. So Bernie says, do you realize what the conditions are out here? Reply is, no reply from the Coast Guard. Captain Cooper tries again. Affirmative. From what your reports are, I can appreciate the conditions again, though. I have to leave the decision up to you as whether you will be hazarding your vessel or not. If you think you can safely go back up to the area, I would request that you do so. But I have to leave the decision up to you. He responded, I'll give it a try, but that's all I can do. So, Chad, let's break this down.
Amazing.
Let's break this down. What do you think about that conversation?
I just think it's insane that, for one, he told him, like, listen, if I do go back out there, I'm only going to be gaining like 2 to 3 miles per, in an hour. So
yeah,
you're talking, you could walk out there faster.
100%.
And I'm already going to be risking my ship because it's older and slower, but it's just crazy to be in that position. Mm-hmm. And still say, yep, I'll turn this bitch around and I'll go out there.
Yeah.
So,
well, I don't know if he did. Did he?
Yeah, he turned around.
Oh yeah, right. Okay, I hadn't read to that point just yet, so I didn't know if he did it for sure or not.
I mean,
no, you're fine. But we don't know what he did. What will Bernie do? Come back next week. So yeah, actually, he was saying he was only going to make 1.5 miles per hour. That's how bad it was. 1.5 miles per hour.
Man. Yep.
But yeah, so the Anderson turned out to be. But the only thing I'm going to say before we jump back into this is that the fact that the Coast Guard doesn't even know what the weather's like. They're like, yeah, I mean, I guess from your reports, which to be fair, it's like, when you call into 911, you're dealing with a dispatch and they may not be in the direct area or whatever's going on, but they're like, from what you've said, it's pretty bad, but what do you think? Can you get back out there? And clearly they're just undermanned or just did not have, any ability to, and I love how they also wipe their hands though. When he said, how bad it is, and they're like, no response. And then they finally, he tries them again saying that, and they say affirmative from what I've heard, but then they also say right here, I think this is key, I have to leave that decision up to you as to whether it will be hazarding your vessel or not. If the man tells you we're experiencing 80-mile-an-hour winds and 18 to 20-foot waves, and now you want me to sail into that, not with it, into it.
Yeah. It is surprising that they would even give him the option because they knew it's not like he's going to get there very quick.
Yeah.
But
for real. So the Anderson turned out to be the primary vessel in the search, taking the lead, with the ship pounding and rolling badly, as one does when they're going direct in. Pounding and rolling badly. It's not a good pounding, it's just pounding badly. The crew of the Anderson discovered the Fitzgerald's 2 lifeboats and other debris, but no sign of survivors, so we can see lifeboats are in the water. Only one other vessel, the William Clay Ford, was able to leave the safety of Whitefish Bay to join in the search at the time. The Coast Guard, launching a fixed-wing HU-16 aircraft at 10 p.m., dispatched 2 cutters, the Naugatuck and the Woodrush. The Naugatuck arrived at 12:45 p.m. on November 11th. So, quick little bit of math here. Chad, when was the last communication from the Fitzgerald? 7:20? 7:15?
Oh, Lord.
Or not even that. I think it was technically 5:30.
7:10. I think it was 7:10 p.m.
Was it 7:10 p.m.? Okay, so 7:10. Yeah. So we're talking...
Captain Sorley's last message was at 7:10 p.m.
Okay, so 7:10 p.m. And then this one's first time the Coast Guard's actually showing up on the scene is 12:45 p.m. the next day. So we've gone 12, 13, 14, 15, right? It's like 16 hours later, give or take, somewhere in there, before they're even there. And the Woodrush on November 14th, so it didn't even show up for a couple more days. Having journeyed all the way from Duluth, Minnesota, the Coast Guard conducted an extensive and thorough search. On November 14th, a U.S. Navy plane equipped with a magnetic anomaly detector located a strong contact 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Point. During the following 3 days, the Coast Guard cutter Woodrush, using a side-scan sonar, located 2 large pieces of wreckage in the same area. Another sonar survey was conducted November 22nd and 25th. So it's sounding like at this point in time, unless I'm reading this wrong, Chad, they don't even know, like, they're still not even certain that they found that this ship leading, and we're going, what, 10? We're like 12 days down the road here, right? 12 to 15 days down the road, and they're not even sure if they found it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they're just finding, little bits of wreckage. But what was the ship that found it using... They're using, like, magnetic sensors or something, they said?
Yeah, that was the Woodrush. Using a side-scan sonar, located 2 large pieces of wreckage in the same area. Another sonar survey was conducted November 26th and 25th. All right. Now, I don't know if we have... Oh, nice. Here we go. There's a little picture right there. Look at that.
Yeah, man.
So, finding the Fitzgerald. So, the following May... 1976, so an entire year later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the following
76.
May, yeah.
Yep.
Woodrush again on the scene to conduct. The following May 1976, Woodrush was again on the scene to conduct a third side scan sonar survey. Contacts were strong enough to bring in the U.S. Navy's Curve, all capitalized, 3, controlled underwater recovery vehicle operating from Woodrush. No idea what that is, but I'm picturing, once again, Qui-Gon Jinn down there searching for it. The Curve 3 unit took 43,000 feet of videotape and 900 photographs of the wreck. On May 20th, 1976, the words Edmund Fitzgerald were clearly seen. I don't know why I did quotation marks. It was the Edmund Fitzgerald. I don't know why I did quotation. Let me think. Allegedly, Edmund Fitzgerald were clearly seen on the stern upside down, 535 feet below the surface of the lake. On April 15th, 1977, I mean, they were just... It's Chad. It blows my mind how many years are passing here.
Yeah.
And
it's a lake. You'd think that since it's a lake that they'd find it instantly, but I don't think.
Gosh.
You know, like I think the average depth of Lake Superior is like 500 feet, just the average.
Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous.
So it's a big lake.
So on April 15th, 1977, the U.S. Coast Guard released its official report of subject SS Edmund Fitzgerald, official number 277437, sinking in Lake Superior on November 10th, 1975, with the loss of life, unquote.
So here's I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
To interrupt
No,
you,
yeah.
but this is the
Nice.
actual ship that was being used at the time to search for it, and then this is the Curve device that they were using to go down there and check it out.
Let me see what this thing looks like here. Wow.
Yeah, man. Oh, and by the way,
is
just another
that?
fact that I'm just remembering, you can't dive there.
Now that it gets weird, right? I will bring that back up a little bit later, but yeah, the Canadians there basically commiserating. That's the wrong term, but they're basically making the place, like they're honoring those that have lost their life, and you're not allowed to dive there, which. We're going to deal with that later. I have mixed feelings on it because, like, people have died everywhere we go. Like, I don't know. Everywhere we've ever gone, pretty much, someone's died. Something has died wherever you were standing right now at some point in history. So,
Yeah.
a little sus, perhaps.
This one just really got people.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was 29 people and...
So let's see what okay, so anyway, so after their official report finally putting it out, while the Coast Guard said the cause of the sinking could not be conclusively determined, it maintained that, quote, the most probable cause of the sinking of the USS Edmund Fitzgerald was the loss of buoyancy and stability resulting from massive flooding of the cargo hold, I should say. The flooding of the cargo hold took place through the ineffective hatch closures as boarding seas rolled along the spar deck or
Boom.
waves.
See? The hatches were not battened down.
Boy,
you got to batten down the hatches.
Batten them down, and you got to slap them afterwards. And you got to say, that baby's not going anywhere, or it's just not good luck. However, the Lake Carries Association vigorously disagreed with the Coast Guard's suggestion that the lack of attention to the properly closing the hatch covers by the crew was responsible for the disaster. They issued a letter to the National Transportation Safety Board in 1977. The Lake Carriers Association was inclined to accept that the Fitzgerald passed over the 6-fathom shoal area as reported by Captain Cooper. Good old Bernie. Later, in a videotaped conversation with the GLSHS, Captain Cooper, Bernie, said that he always believed McSorley knew something serious had happened to the Fitzgerald as the ship passed over Caribou Shoal. Cooper believes that from that point on, McSorley knew he was sinking. That's a big statement.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Conflicting theories about the cause of the tragedy remain active today. The GLSHS 3 expeditions to the wreck revealed that it is likely she submarined bow first into the enormous sea, so nose first, as damaged forward is indicative of a powerful quick force to the superstructure. but what caused the ship to take on water enough to lose buoyancy and dive to the bottom so quickly without a single cry for help cannot be determined. 29 men were lost when the Fitzgerald went down. There is absolutely no conclusive evidence to determine the cause of the sinking. The bell of the ship is now on display in the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum as a memorial to her lost crew. And obviously there's a little bit more to all of this, but that gives you a basic idea, and then we have some stuff we can definitely break down in our thoughts of what we think. But even for the chat right now, maybe we just ask them, what do you guys think far as the idea of, do you buy that the nose just went down? Because this ship was broken in two. I mean, that's been confirmed. Mm-hmm. Allegedly. I'm going to put that out there. Allegedly. Because... Well, go ahead, Chad. I'm sorry.
Allegedly that it's broken too, or allegedly broken to after it's
that they found it broken too. And I want to bring that up. There's a point to the story that I want to bring up, and I'm going to reiterate in just a second here. But we are not allowed to dive and look at that. We don't know if they even ever actually found it. Now, we have to believe that the good men and women over there at the U.S. Coast Guard are doing their jobs, okay? I'm not selling a conspiracy here, but I'm just saying... It's a little suspect that it took you 2 years, okay? Again, it is Lake Superior. It's wild. It's big, but they were spending... I mean, look at the equipment they were bringing in to try and solve this. I'm just saying. But what do you guys think? Do you think that this is what happened? It was just some rogue waves, took it out, and snapped it? Maybe type whatever you think. I don't even suggest what it could have been. What do you guys think it could have been? And put it in there. And while we're doing that... So Sunsaver's already saying the bridge, well, he's talking about another ship here. The bridge went down in 2 and 3 seconds. No time to call SOS. Lynn saying sus. And we all remember what sus means. You got to take a sip of whatever you got going tonight.
Oh, yeah. Sus.
So here's a photo, right? An actual photo.
Yeah, man.
Allegedly. I'm just kidding.
Allegedly. Oh, here we go.
I'm just kidding. So.
I did see one video of it. Did you catch that?
I did not, so we can pull that up in a minute if you'd like.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to say, and maybe we'll talk about it after you hold the video, because I want to go back and talk about something else in a second. But there's a couple of things that need to be noted. Number one, Bernie had some concerns about the way McSorley was captaining, over here at the Fitzgerald, and that's. There's kind of, I don't want to say this, the code of the sea, as it were. That my uncle's a captain, okay? Has his captain's license.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and, yes, you must always do what's right, okay? And you serve the ship and the crew. But I will say there's a little bit of code there with the guys. You know what I mean? If there's a problem, those guys deal with that problem with each other. You know what I mean? Like, you go to him, a mano, right? And Bernie comes up there and he adjusts his tie and he says, listen here, McSorley, I don't like the way you've been sailing. And then they talk about it, But I just think, and I think Bernie's doing the right thing by stating what he's seen leading up to these events, because, I don't know, it's just weird, and we all have gut instinct, we all have gut, feelings, but man, Bernie seemed to already know. I mean, I'm going to go back up and show this actually. Whenever you're ready, Sonny, you can show yours if you'd like, because I want to bring up a quote that was said early on.
Did you call me Sonny?
I 100% called you Sonny. I'm just missing Sonny a little bit. I'm sorry.
Here's a little bit of footage from the depths.
Oh my gosh, look at it. It's so dark down there, guys.
Oh God. It's not as dark as the Titanic. Well, I don't know. Can't tell how deep it is if the sun's actually hitting it. Ooh, that's
There's
crazy.
The words, though.
Got the words on it. Oh, fair use.
Fair use. Put it up there. Put it up.
We are using.
I love it, Sonny. His name's Chad.
His name's
Chad.
There, buddy.
Was it the Chad? But I want to pull up something while Chad's giving his opinion. Now, Chad, you said you already had an answer before we even started on this, and I you know what? To be fair,
it's boring. So
we need to also look to the chat. I didn't even see if anybody else answered what they thought it might have been. I think Sunsaver did. I don't think I see anybody else in there just yet saying anything. But Chad, what is your boring answer? I guess as you've labeled it.
My boring answer is that the hatches were not battened down. They got in that storm, and they started filling up with water. And the it's just like the Titanic. It's taken on too much weight than it could handle. And he did have 2 pumps running, bilge pumps running, full tilt, and it wasn't doing anything. It wasn't helping. I mean, obviously it was helping a little bit, but it wasn't enough to overtake how much water was actually coming into the ship. So I think, real basic answer, it was just way too heavy. It went down into a wave. The wave came over the front and it overtook it. Too much weight overtook it and just drove her right to the depths, unfortunately.
Now, what about the fact that we had lifeboats off of the ship but no guys?
You got me there.
Because I don't know what the strap down process is. I mean, we know that big wave took out the one on the Anderson, so just to be fair is fair, could have just smashed off on its own, right?
Yeah, I mean, probably that's exactly what happened. Because honestly, there was so much going on in a short amount of time that they didn't even have time to send out like a SOS or any kind of distress call. So I highly doubt they had enough time to get the lifeboats going. But so yeah, they probably just broke off on their own. And like that one picture I pulled up of that lifeboat. Where did it go? This lifeboat was beat all to hell too, so let me see if I can pull it up again. This is one of the actual lifeboats.
Not enough pumping. It's true.
Yeah. There's definitely not enough pumping going on.
Look at that rip on the side. I mean, it had to have hit a rock. I mean, what? I mean, that's
Lake Superior for you, baby. She'll shred that thing. Wow. No, I don't know. It does look like it hit some kind of rock a few times.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I think is interesting or worth noting is back when he says what's going on. So at 3:30 p.m., Captain McSorley radioed Captain Cooper and said, "Anderson, this is the Fitzgerald. I have a fence rail down, 2 vents lost or damaged, and a list I'm checking down." I would be so curious as to know, and this is probably why Bernie thinks that, hey, that's why he ran so close to the island the first time in case they started to sink. They could at least sink near an island where they could not lose their shipment of everything they were hauling. Mm-hmm. And Captain Cooper, Bernie asked McSorley if he had his pumps going, and McSorley said yes, both of them. Now, why would he ask him that question? Don't you think McSorley would know that? I mean, McSorley had been sailing for a while, and it was, in the lore, he's always said that McSorley would never slow down. That was one of his things. He would always keep going, but in this case, he did slow down. Mm-hmm. But if McSorley wasn't like an inexperienced guy, he'd been running this for a while, he'd been a captain for a while, it just seems a little weird that Bernie's asking him like kind of what I would think is a basic question, let alone in a big storm, to be like, you got both your pumps running? Maybe in the card rooms, where just the captains hang out in the captain's quarters kind of deal where it's only captains only. Maybe he knew something about Sorley. Maybe he knew something was off or something was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, he might have known something that he had shared with him before that nobody knew. But what was the other thing I was going to... Oh, right here. Papa Willie had an idea. He said maybe he let off to let the other boat catch up, and he got sunk by his own wake.
Oh, well, I mean, I would doubt his own wake because, I mean...
Or even just if he doesn't have as much power going to the engine, like if the engine's not powering it up enough to get it out of its own way, like maybe the water overtook it. Yeah. I know that if the ship loses power, that's a big no-no. Like you could definitely sink that way. So yeah, if he let off a little bit too much.
I don't think he even said it clearly in this, guys, but the Fitzgerald did lose its radar. That's why back when they first let him know that, like, hey, you got a mile and a half for us to catch up or whatever, and we're 19 miles ahead of you. And he was saying you have that target that's 9 miles ahead of you. The reason he was telling him that is because, I don't know why the article didn't mention this, but the Fitzgerald had lost its radar. So it was supposed to just drop anchor and sit tight. Which is why, that's what he said. Well, McSorley was asking him, am I going to clear it? And he said, yes, he is going to pass the west of you, talking about the other ship that was going by. So, obviously, they're, the whole we're holding our own thing, I don't know. I could have swore, and Chad, maybe if you were listening, I could have swore I read a part in here, and I'm having a hardest time finding this right now. I thought there was a spot when we were reading before they even knew the ship was snapped in two where it was mentioned about it being snapped in two. Do you remember that?
Mm-mm. The only thing that I heard about it being snapped in two was it happened after it had sank.
Okay.
It didn't happen on the surface.
Very concerned about the family. Okay, because I'm just trying to read through this and see. I could have swore, and I'll see if I can find it, but I could have swore there was a spot where Bernie was saying he was concerned that it had gone down and snapped in two. But I'll see if I can find this.
Chat's being funny.
Oh, yeah, read away on the chat.
Jake says that it had twin Ford engines and it couldn't get out of its own way. Sonny has a theory that the Kraken got the boat.
Ooh, is there a Lake Michigan or the Great Lakes Kraken, perhaps?
Could be. We don't know anything about the bottom of the oceans or the lakes.
The lakes, at least.
Brent says, hold my beer. Yeah, maybe he just went. Oh, I see. Yeah, seriously, why would the captain think that he could steam up to a 100-foot wave? I don't know, man. He was just...
Yeah, well, luckily it wasn't a 100-foot wave, but, I mean, they were saying between 18 and 25-foot waves, which is a lot.
25.
Yeah.
Yep, 25-foot waves, way too much water in the boat, causing too much weight, so it couldn't overtake it. I don't know, man. I wish there was a way that they could, how like an airplane can dump its fuel to lose weight? Can you imagine if they could just open the bottom container of the containers?
Right.
Just let all this coal out, or the
okay, right here. I found it. I'm so sorry, guys. I finally found it. I knew I'd read it. Okay. So this is in the conversation once he's talking to the Coast Guard, right? Remember when the Coast Guard would ask him to go back out?
Yeah.
When they were asking him, is it calm enough for you to go back out, do you think? And he was saying he was in the bay. Okay, so this is right here when they asked him, can you go back out and go searching? He says, oh, God, I don't know if that, he goes through his thing, so you don't think he can. They responded. So after him saying, I'll be lucky to make 2 or 3 miles an hour going back out that way, they respond with, well, you'll have to make a decision as to whether you'll be hazarding your vessel or not. But you're probably one of the only vessels right now that can go to the scene. We're going to try to contact those saltwater vessels and see if they can't possibly come about and possibly come back. Also, things look pretty bad right now. It looks like she may have split apart at the seams like the Morale did a few years back. Now, how did they know that, or where are they pulling that from? I mean, this is... Let me share my screen here for you, Chad.
Does it say split apart or split in half?
He said ripped apart at the seams, right?
Let's so maybe that just means that, like, the side opened up or something.
But it's a little... I mean, we know a ship probably went down, but I just thought the way he worded it, because... where was I reading from? My goodness. We're trying to contact... Okay, yeah. And possibly go back out. He said, things look pretty bad right now. Again, he's saying things look pretty bad, even though he just 2 seconds ago, right here, is it calming down at all? A little weird that you're asking, is it calming down? And then over here, you're like, oh, things look pretty bad right now. It looks like she may have split apart at the seams like the Morale did a few years back. Now, one thing I'll say about this is, there was some evidence to believe that there was a kind of poor patch job. Ships take beatings over the year, and there have been some welding going down the center to help reinforce because of how long those ships are. And as we talked about the weight, I mean, what was it, 63 feet or whatever the length was, 1 foot shy of what it was, allowed at the time.
Yep.
Had reinforced that center because you would be taking an immense amount. That's where all the pressure would be with the, all the steam, everything on each end. You would have a ton of pressure in the center there. I just think it's a little suspect that this random U.S. Coast Guard person was asking how things were, then to go, things are looking pretty bad, far as possibly come back out, and then says it looks like she may have split apart. Just the words to me, split apart. And the fact that they found it split apart. Because it is not common for a ship to split in two. That is not common. A ship to go down, yes. Split in two like this one did, split in two.
This one, that's Jake's pointing out a really good fact here is that...
Oh boy, let's do it, Jake.
Most ships didn't split in two because they were riveted together. But this one was welded together. So it's a lot easier for... that's why planes are riveted together, because if something happens to one part of the plane, the whole rest of the plane is still riveted, whereas a weld can split and just start cracking all the way down.
Or just take it with you.
I have to read this part because I looked up the Morel ship to see
yeah,
what exactly happened to the Morel.
Drop this here. Here we go. All right.
So the Morel ship, it says, making the last run of the season, the Morel became caught in winds exceeding 70 miles an hour in swells that topped the height of the ship, which was 25 foot. 25-foot waves. Okay.
Wow.
During the
Lake
early
Superior
morning
again?
hours.
I'm guessing probably since you referenced it.
I'm guessing
willing
Superior.
to bet. Yeah.
It took off during the early morning hours. Edward Townsend was the captain. Made the decision to take shelter in the St. Clair River. Okay. Leaving the Morel alone on the waters north of Point Aux Barks, Michigan, heading for the protection of Thunder Bay. At 2:15 in the morning, it broke in half, with the remaining crew on the bow loading into a raft. While they were waiting for the bow to sink, there were shouts that a ship had been spotted off the port bow. Moments later, it was discovered that the looming object was not another ship, but it was the Morel's aft section, barreling towards them under the power of the ship's engine.
Oh my God, like a torpedo.
Yeah, the whole ass end of the ship was coming towards them.
Oh my God.
The bow then sank, throwing the raft into the lake. In the other words of the writer, the vessel's stern disappeared into the darkness like a great wounded beast with its head shot off.
Wow.
That would be pretty bizarre to see the back end of the ship go past you while you're on the front of it. So it did split in half. That one did split in half. So maybe, he was referring to that ship. So,
but is that a common thing for ships to rip in half? I just wonder. I don't know. And again, obviously it's a stretch, and I'm reaching here and playing devil's advocate. But I just feel it's a little suspect in the way that you asked about the weather. Then you talk about how bad the weather is. And then you talk about how you think that it could have split in half. Now, let's go to the next thing, guys. 29 men lost their life. And if I'm not mistaken, to this very day, only one has ever been found. And they're not even 100% certain on that. They just believe that it probably is.
Yep.
So why, Chad, if you had to guess, why did we not find any of these bodies? I mean, we had guys up and down there searching the area.
Man, to be honest, there's probably something in that lake bigger than we know of, and it probably ate them. No, I don't know.
Well, I do know, because when we die, right, what is it, when, like, the bacteria or whatever in the body that has, like, the gases or whatever, and we, like, that's why we float.
Yeah.
But they say that needs to be in warm water, so...
Maybe it's just so damn cold.
Cold water, because it was this November, Lake Superior, with the storm. I mean, that's probably... Come on down. I guess the thing that concerns me a little bit is 29 guys, rogue wave, let's just give it rogue wave, hits the front, boom, right? Mm-hmm. Guys go flying. Now, it's been proven, even on Mythbusters, the old story, everybody thinks the ship takes the people down on the water. They sat right over top of a boat, and they tested it. It does not. It doesn't pull people, it doesn't pull ball. When a ship goes down, it will not pull you down in it.
Oh, okay.
So,
it doesn't make a vortex?
No. So when this went down and maybe threw these guys all over the place, they still had, even if we're saying that the rowboats got busted off at the time of the accident, those were still somewhere in the vicinity. And granted, hypothermia would set in pretty fast.
Dude, I'm telling you.
But it just seems weird that you couldn't have even had a chance.
I really think that it was just so fast. Because I really think that wave just came over, and they probably thought that they were going into a wave, but they were actually just going in to the lake. And they probably just didn't have time. I mean,
I wonder if how the waves are going, if it was midway down, so like the water was almost not shallow. I don't want to say shallow, but like they had just finished a wave, so it was bringing their front end up again, and their back end, so that there was like a little bit of space here, and that wave landed right on that part, creating enough of a give to just smash it in two. But yeah, they think that's what happened, is that the bodies it was just so cold that that's why you don't form anything. You basically just sink to the bottom like icicles. And obviously Canada put a memorial in place for the area there, and you are not allowed to go diving there whatsoever.
$1 million fine per person.
I can't. It's my inner conspiracy theory person. I can't. Anytime money gets associated around stuff like this, guy, I get weird about it. I because people die all the time. There's a memorial. You drive down the highway and there's memorials for people, right? And in some places, like federally ones, set up, you can get fines for going across the fence line or something, but very rare.
Do we know of other shipwrecks that you're not allowed to, or that you are allowed to dive to?
I don't know. I don't know what the ruling on that is. I mean, in Lake Michigan, for instance, when we covered that, they have a whole society that goes out and purposely looks for these ships. Mm-hmm. That's their job, and to find the ones that have been lost. So to make the spot like, yep, we got it, the answer, here it is, but you guys are not allowed to go and look at all, and if you do, here's $1 million fine. $1 million, guys. That's not a little...
To be honest,
it's weird. It's a little weird.
I'm the one that's like a not conspiracy theorist, so I'm over here just like, it's probably just the way they said it is. But it could just be that all the victims' families got together, because out of 29 people, that's a lot of family members that could have gone to a board meeting or something and said, listen, we don't want anyone diving down here and messing with this boat, because it's like the grave of all of our family members.
True. And
Canada was like, well, what could we do? Well, you could just ban people from going down there. That would be good enough for us. And they were probably like, you know what? We can easily do that. Let's just sign something.
But that's what
You're not allowed to get down there.
Well, why don't we look it up if we get a chance, chat? When did they memorialize it? It was in the late 70s, early 80s, right? So to make it $1 million fine then, $1 million now is still a little chunk of change, but a chunk of change, $1 million back then was a chunk of change. You know what I mean? Like, jeez. I'm just saying, it was a little bit. But I just think, I do think it was, I personally do think it was just the wave that took him out. The ship had served a ton. I mean, it had worked so many routes back and forth on this thing. And there was some question as to the integrity of the ship as a whole, because like you pointed out there, Jake, with it being reinforced down the middle with the weld. But it just seems weird that just not a single person, even though the Anderson was within not even 9 miles of it, 7 miles, and went by it, and there was nothing.
Yeah, it was right behind it the whole time. The Anderson saw the lights of the Fitzgerald. Yeah. And all of a sudden, no lights, no sign of the ship, and it just went past it. So it definitely sank, and then the Anderson went past the sinking ship.
And I think another thing that's a little strange to me is the fact that Lake Superior has always, like I said, the legend being, and not even really a legend, it's just it seems to be a fact, that she never gives up her dead. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is something that's not uncommon. This is something that, like I said, even the Native Americans, the name, which I don't have, I won't even try to attempt to say that, but translates to basically that, Lake Superior never gives up her dead. So this is something that goes way back to whatever they were, in a canoe or whatever they were doing back then. Like, people would just, if you went down, you were gone. We're not gonna find you.
I think Jake was probably right about that. How your body probably does, once it fills with water, it sinks to the bottom, and maybe in another lake where it gets warmer, rigor mortis sets in, and then it floats to the top. But in Superior, it's just so damn cold. Maybe once the bodies are down there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the average temperature in Superior at any time is probably not much, right? Like 28 degrees, 30 degrees or whatever. And I'm sure in November it was, freezing. But yeah, I agree that those guys basically turned to ice cubes and sunk. That's similar to what happened with the Titanic, right? They found some of those bodies that were still pretty well preserved because of how cold it was. Which, how eerie must that be? Could you imagine being a diver, just going through the ship now? Like, imagine going through the Titanic and you're just finding people who didn't make it out of a room, just trapped somewhere. And their body was still, if things have not gotten to them, skin still intact, like just frozen in time, literally.
Whitefish Point. Water temperature in Whitefish Point today is 42 degrees Fahrenheit. Doesn't that seem kind of warm?
I mean, it's a little warm, but that's close to the area they were in. But if there was
December.
But that's my point. I mean, it was probably, I would say, in my mind, I'm going to guess the temperature was between 20 and 30 degrees back then, probably. Matter of fact, you know what? The weather will tell you. You could probably look up what the temperature was that date.
Probably.
Because it was November 10th, 1974.
Okay.
Sorry, 75. Or, yeah, what did we say? 74, 75?
It says the least or the lowest temperature on record is 37 degrees for November.
Okay, so I'm looking this up. So it says right here, a cadaver floats when bacteria in the body produces enough gas to float in the surface.
Really
when the water gets warm enough, the formation of gas within the body occurs more rapidly, making it expanded and float like a balloon. So that's why we float, which is like in the mafia, right? That's why they stab you in your lungs. So when they throw your body in the rivers, like it'll take you out to the ocean so you won't float up. It allows the basically not like a porthole, but it puts holes in your body so that bacteria cannot be produced in the air or the oxygen in our lungs won't allow our bodies to float either.
Rest in peace.
Yeah, sleeps with the fishes.
Oh my God.
Yes, Papa Willie. It would not. So it would be. That's considered freezing. But the water usually doesn't freeze at 32 degrees. But people would. I mean, God, could you imagine? I mean, bringing in 40-something degree weather or water would be just absolutely ridiculous.
And also, I think the pressure change at the bottom of the lake would have something to do with bacteria and stuff.
Well, and that's what Sunsaver's saying right here. Bacteria are dormant under 50 degrees. So, I mean, depending on how far these guys got launched or thrown, I mean...
Well, that explains that right there, then. If the average temperature on the lake is 42 degrees and bacteria is dormant under 50, that's why
you wouldn't float.
That'd be why superior... See, we are scientists here.
So smart.
We just figured that out.
Yeah. I don't know. As much as I like to make things maybe not what they are, but like, oh, they're covering something up. This one probably is pretty straightforward. It probably was just a tragic event. Yeah. I still am hung up a little bit on the conversation. I mean, the actual written transcript of what was said between the Coast Guard and Bernie. I think it's a little weird that they called it.
Sus.
A little sus for me. It's a little sus, and I get that it was commemorized and just made a memorial, but the $1 million fine thing is wild to me. I'm sorry, it's wild. I don't even know if that's where the ship's at. Like I don't even know if where they found the ship is the spot that they made the memorial. To be honest with you, I really don't know. But if where they think it went down, because I mean, how long did it take them? They were like 2 years. They were scanning back and forth and trying to find footage. I don't even know if it sunk exactly where they found it. There's not a lot. That's what's weird about this is it doesn't give you an exact detail, even to today, right? Let me read through this thing. I don't think it told us in there like an exact location, like the coordinates. It just said that
no methane production in 33 degree Fahrenheit water. Bacteria is snoozing. Hey, what's up, Peppa H? Good to see you.
Peppa H in the house. Cheers, mate. Yeah, on April 5th, April 15th, 1977, the U.S. Coast Guard, they released, so, right here, however, the Lake Carriers Association, yeah, they argued with it vigorously, I forgot about that.
April 15th.
Yeah, that was the other one. But the Curve 3 took 43,000 feet of videotape. I don't know if that's a lot or a little bit. I'm gonna falls a little flat on me because I didn't look that up. I don't know what time equates to per foot. Like, I don't know how that works out, but it was 43,000 feet of videotape and 900 photographs of the wreck. So they took, of the wreck alone, they took 43,000 feet of video, 900 photographs of the wreck. Mm-hmm. And on May 20th, 1976, the words Edmund Fitzgerald were clearly seen on the stern upside down at 535 feet below the surface of the lake. But I'm just saying it took them a long... At no point in here does it tell me that they found it exactly. Hang on. Because it says the Coast Guard conducted an extensive and thorough search on November 14th. A U.S. Navy plane equipped with a magnetic anomaly detector located a strong contact 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Point. So, Chad, if you don't mind, just while I'm finishing this up, can you look up what place Canada actually memorialized, or where is that location that we're not allowed to dive or whatever? Because this location he detects this is 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Point. During the following 3 days, the Coast Guard cutter Woodrush, using a side scan sonar, located 2 large pieces of wreckage in the same area. Another sonar was conducted on November 22nd and 25th. So it sounds like it was 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Point, which initially, if I'm not mistaken, it was only not even quite nine miles, if that, 7 miles out from the Whitefish Point, right?
7 miles. Yeah, it was only 7 miles from reaching the point.
So we're more like 10 miles northwest of that.
It's just insane too, because once you get into the waters of the bay, it's super calm, and they would have been fine. But they were literally just right at the very edge and sank. It looks like the memorial is on the ground. It's not like it's out in the ocean or in the water.
In the water. So if that's the case, then it is the location that we can't dive into, right?
What do you mean?
Well, you said there's $1 million fine. I mean, it can't be $1 million fine to just walk out on the land over there. Is it the $1 million fine for diving?
Oh yeah, to dive to the ship is $1 million.
So they must know the exact, location here of whatever was.
Oh yeah,
whatever was going on.
Yeah, they know the exact location of the
ship.
Oh, wow. Let me show you this diorama I just saw. Of course, you're going to be like, allegedly. That's allegedly what it looks like based on what you're telling us. Sons of bitches.
That's what they want you to believe, Chad.
See? Wisconsin Maritime Museum. It's got it right there, that's awesome.
Okay, now. All right, I have mixed feelings. Okay, I'm sorry, Chad, you called it. What are the chances? Just throwing it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how things sink, and this is where I don't have enough information. How close are these things to being next to each other at the bottom? You know what I mean? Like, how did this, if it drifted another 10 miles out, they stayed together that full 10 miles and then landed,
That's why I'm thinking that, and I also agree with whoever I heard it from, that it split after it submerged.
Which then leads even more credence into, like, how did these guys not get out? I mean, and I'm going to assume that they fully searched the ship. Have they, searched in the ship? Because there might have been a guy, well, he probably wasn't sleeping, but what if there was somebody way down the bottom? You know what I mean? That just couldn't even get to the top.
That's probably what I was thinking, because if all 29 guys were just hanging out in the staterooms or whatever, and then the captain was up in the bridge or whatever they call it, like if he couldn't get out, then definitely the other people just chilling in their rooms were probably just like, well, hopefully we're just going into a wave. And it was like, by the time they even realized what was happening, maybe they were already 50 feet under the water or something.
By the way, you were right about the families. This is families' request that a symbolic memorial for the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, the U.S. Navy and Coast Guard deployed planes and cutters with magnetic. And that just talks about how they found it. But in the decades since, only a handful of people have been able to see the wreck, which lies in two pieces. A pair of divers made their way down in 1995. The same year, a crew, with the help from the Canadian Navy, the National Geographic Society, Sony, and the Sault Ste. Marie Tribute of the Chippewa Indians retrieved the ship's bell at the. So they actually went. They didn't even go to 1995 on the behalf of the families of those who were lost. The Canadian government has since prohibited access to the site. So it sounds like up until 1995, you could.
Well, that would make sense.
Did you share? You already shared the video, didn't you? In that where it shows like the
of them going into it.
Yeah, we're saying the name of the Fitzgerald, whatever.
Yeah. Let me pull that up again.
Yeah, if you want, sure. Because I just thought that was kind of. I mean, because it shows it for a little bit in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the Erie, it's talking about like, and then they have an annual Fitzgerald Memorial Ceremony takes place on November 10th at the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum at the Whitefish Point.
This video is pretty cool. Fair use. We're stating fair use.
You realize what the conditions are out there.
Oh, wow. I probably shouldn't play the audio, but...
Well, I mean, that was his actual, like, conversation. Remember the parts I was reading earlier? That was, I mean, there's an audio recording of that, as well as them talking, the transcript version.
Oh, yeah, here's some... Oh, wow. This is cool. Footage of the ship.
Yeah.
The Edmund Fitzgerald.
So when he said railing broke off, that was my mind. I'm thinking railing like that, like attached to
That's what I was
the...
thinking. Yeah, the railing. I'm like, well, what else could it be?
Now, they make it like it was so hard to clearly find the name Edmund Fitzgerald, but it's like... Oh, looks like it was right there. Oh my gosh, that's so eerie.
That is. That prop was giving her all she had that night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying, man. Just bringing everyone down. Edmund Fitzgerald, Milwaukee. Yes, it's clearly upside down, Willie.
No, I
And
can see.
The other side's clearly on the upside.
Yeah, a little inconsistency there, huh, Chad?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sinking of the... Ooh. Got a member of the chat room here is helping me out with a share. Just doing this on the fly. Thanks, Brent, for sending me that real quick.
I mean, look at that. You can see where it looks bent there in that front part. I mean, I can't tell if that's just the way it was designed or if that's bent. Like along the top there. Like
Yeah.
in that corner on the left.
There was probably so much going
look
on.
at that, guys. Well, there's the bell. That's the bell they went down and retrieved.
Oh, this is a cool video. Thanks, Brent. This is sweet, man. Let me just share this one. The sinking. So this is like a little animation here.
Fair use. Under Section 107 of the 1976 copy. I'm just kidding.
We are allowed by law to criticize this.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it is educational purposes, guys. I mean, come
It
on.
really is. Yep.
Okay, so this is what they think might have gone down, right? Depiction of what they think probably took place for it to finally sink.
Oh, man. Let's see.
Well, first of all,
we are
I'd like to point out that
heavy-
these cartoons just like what we see of space. So we're
Oh,
starting
here
right
we
there.
go.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay, so this is kind of what I was trying to say, but I couldn't put in other shows. What I was talking about, like where the front end was dipping, causing the back to rise.
Oh, yeah.
And once your rudder's in the air, right, you couldn't...
Whoa.
Oh, so now they think it actually ran aground. Is that what they're thinking?
Well, this animation's crazy because that makes it look like it's not even deep.
Yeah, for real.
Whoa. No, it's much deeper than that, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's like, whoa, that's only 75 feet down. But still,
Interesting.
I think it's probably just the ship that just it should have been pulled earlier than what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It is a little suspect when you hear the stories initially that, you know, there was a ship that was with it. He was literally talking to them. It was on radar, and then it disappeared. But at the end of the day, I think it was just a tragic event that took place where a ship should have been pulled sooner than what it was. And just a
500
really crazy storm hit them.
Yeah, it's 530 feet down.
Yeah, a little bit of a difference there. I don't think they fully captured the 535 feet in that video.
Right. Oh, but Brent says it's 728 feet long.
No.
We don't know what we're talking about. We're just
Hang
presenting
on.
the presentation.
Hang on. That can't be right. I have a piece of information. Oh, dang it. It's pulling up weird stuff now. Hang on. I don't think that's right. We got to look that up because if that's
would
a
make
very
sense, then.
long ship, though, if that is the case. It does seem like an exact number he gave, which seems probably like it could be accurate.
Since he probably looked it up. He says 100%.
100%, 728 feet.
730
Wow.
feet. Which was 730 feet long. Well, that's on Wikipedia. 729 feet from Detroit Historical Society. So, dude, that would make total sense. If the ship's 720 feet long
Mm-hmm.
and it's only 500 feet deep, then it definitely could have done exactly what the animation just said, where it hit the bottom and it was like and cracked. Just broke in half.
But yeah, some people, as Sun Saver sitting right here, this is the one that some people have said.
Oh, so what else is new?
Some people have said that they think it was a mass abduction. I'm like, I don't know. That seems a little far-fetched.
Yeah, it's kind of far-fetched.
Usually those take place where people get abducted and then they reappear and they're like, what happened? Stuff like that happens.
Plus
but
40-foot swells. Yeah, man. Yeah, so the animation was pretty accurate then.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't realize the ship was that long. For some reason, what did we say, 63 feet in the beginning?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess we undersold it. At least
I feel like we shouldn't use this presentation as a historically accurate...
Yeah, this one isn't exactly historically accurate. It's as accurate as we learned about it as we were going.
As we were going along. Yeah.
I think we missed that part. I really did miss that it was 728 feet.
Yeah,
I remember... sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll be honest, I did not do all the math and figure out that the ship was longer than the depth that it was sunk at. It's interesting.
Yeah, I hear that number, and I'm still just struggling with it.
Me too, dude, because I've flown my drone.
It doesn't make sense.
Like, I can fly my drone legally to 400 feet, and I've only gone 100 foot above that, which is 500. And 500 is really, like, you can barely even see the drone up in the air. So to think that the ship was that high.
Yeah.
It is pretty insane to think about. 728 feet long. That's a big ship, man.
Really big.
Yep.
It's a couple, that's like 6 3/4 football fields there.
Our chat room is really doing some math for us.
They're doing really good.
63 foot is a pleasure boat. You're talking 20 feet.
Oh, yeah. Papa Willie, that's a good point, though. Like you're saying, the cargo containers are 53 feet long. So you would need something that would, yeah.
Man.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the largest ship in the Great Lakes when it was built, Jake. That's right.
I do think, I think so that makes sense, though, that ship, basically why they were kind of upset about why they're like, listen, this had nothing to do with the vents being open in the port. You know what I mean?
Oh, my God. It's right here in our notes.
Oh, you know what? It's right there, Chad. Maybe that's what we mixed up was the width and the... Okay, because that's what I thought. I kept thinking in my head, 75 kind of like... Oh, okay. It was the width that I had stuck in my head. And I need to know about the length. I've heard width is a little more important, though, so that's why the number stuck with me. So, girthy. She was a girthy one out there. But yeah, it's 700 and something, 7,500 horsepower was not enough to fight what is Lake Superior.
Isn't it insane? 7,000 horsepower and it went 20 miles an hour.
Well, when you're pushing 728 feet in front of you,
13,000 tons. 13,000 tons. Tons. Is what it weighed.
Tons. Not counting the weight that they had on there, which what they were taking at the time. What did it say they were shipping? I had it right here. Ooh. That was weird. It literally, on its own for a second, was like, I have control. It had 26,116 long tons of tactonite pellets made of...
Long tons.
This is an insane amount of weight.
Yeah, Papa Willie says, I agree with you guys. It was too long to handle the wavelength.
Okay, and that's kind of my point, though, is that if they know this about Lake Superior, which, granted, you shouldn't, this was a random, like, they didn't think the storm was going to get this big, but you would think they'd almost not even make a ship to deal with that. If they know the waves can get like this here, why make that thing? In some ways.
They just didn't know what they were doing, I guess. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing is the Anderson is still going today, and it was older.
Mm-hmm. Went through the same exact storm within a couple miles of this incident. Matter of fact, it got hit with the same... that is a little strange. That's what Bernie thinks, is that those two waves that hit them were what went and hit, the Fitzgerald. Mm-hmm. But with that having happened, it still didn't take out the Anderson.
Yep. Yeah, Anderson was still powerful enough. I'm telling you, I'm thinking
it had to been that weld.
They didn't batten down the hatches, man.
Batten down the hatches. That's the moral of the story. Batten down your hatches, and you better slap it afterwards and be like, listen, this is what happens.
Give or take 47 barns worth.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Jake.
But yeah. So that's what I think with the Fitzgerald. I don't think there was any crazy stuff like aliens. I'll admit, I always think there's crazy sea creatures everywhere. I'm not going to lie about that. I 100% believe there are wild things in the lakes and the seas. Truly believe it. But far as why most people disappear there, I think they're just all icicles at the bottom of the lake, unfortunately.
Oh my God. So that was the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah. You guys can tune in 2 Sundays from today to hear about UFOs, where we will be talking UFOs. You see that moon right above Chad's head right now? 3 of those bad boys, that size, all up and down the west coast of Michigan for days.
Yep. 94, right?
Hundreds and hundreds of reports. Yeah, 94.
94.
Yep.
The Michigan flap.
Another Michigan flap. Yeah. And by the way, if you guys have a particular story you'd like us to cover from Michigan, even if it's not directly related to stuff like this, as you can see, this is a little more historical. Like, there's some great stories we could cover right around Adrian, Michigan, and Tecumseh with the Underground Railroad. There's a lot of just other things you can cover besides, mysteries and whatnot. Besides like alien-related stuff. So in this one, we got to do more of just a historical event that took place. But it's weird. Like, I feel like the Fitzgerald, it comes off super mysterious at first, and then once you kind of look into it, you're like, oh, maybe this isn't as wild as it appeared.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just a very sad incident.
It was. But ultimately,
Fitzgerald was.
Yeah, ultimately, though, I think it was just, like you guys said, the waves that it sunk that way and broke itself, hitting the ground. So
just too damn heavy.
I have to say on this one, scale 1 to 10, 10 being absolutely mysterious. Scale, maybe we need to do that. Mysterious being 10 is the most mysterious you can be, and 1 being not. I really think this one's probably falling at like a 2 or 3 for me. I think I'm going to give it a 3 because of the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard and the not being able to... It's just a little strange. I want to do more homework after this, now that the show's over, and dig into this. If National Geographic went down there, and so did Sony. Sony sponsored the dive. Yeah. When they went down there and then shut it down after 95, like, what? Where's all that footage? Why is there only little clips?
I got nothing.
That's the only reason I'll give it a 3. Other than that, this seems like a normal crash. I think there's some weird aftermath to it, is to me. There's some stuff that I just can't shake in my heart. It like feels like, man, something was going on there. I don't know.
Sunsaver says he might pull some ideas for us. Some unsolved mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe they tested out the rods of God on him. That was the first time they ever tested it. You know what I mean? Think about, okay, why did we not look this up from the beginning?
Thanks, Brent.
Liberty Mutual? It wasn't Liberty Mutual. First of all, forgive me. It was Northwestern, right?
Hell, I don't remember.
What was the insurance company that built it?
Dude.
The insurance company that built it was not Liberty Mutual.
I don't have my notes pulled up anymore.
Hang on, I got you.
I close those out.
It was built by an insurance company, which was Northwestern Mutual. Northwestern Mutual Insurance Company. Wonder if Northwestern got a payout. Like, did anybody get any insurance money from this? And why I didn't look that up to get started, that's my fault.
Hopefully they gave a bunch of money to the victims' families.
The families, yeah. But how sad would it be if it ended up being a bunch of money from Northwestern, but when you don't get paid out for decommissioning a ship, which has already been welded back together in the middle. I don't know. And if they sent the rods of God, have you ever seen those from when they just let these rods fall from outer space and they literally hit and they're like an explosive, like it's not like a nuclear bomb, but I mean it hits like a Scud missile. It's ridiculous. Scud missile? Did I say stud?
Scud,
could be a stud.
Right? I'm trying to see, Jake, if anybody owns the rights to that, because if they don't, we could play it, but I don't want to take the chance. I'm scared to take the chance.
Oh, as far as the song.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Brent. Thank you. I'm just going to do a quick general search while we're wrapping up here, just to see if someone did get paid. 1 second. I'll be right back.
If somebody got paid for the... it looks like the license goes to Warner Brothers. We are definitely not going to try to play that one. Warner Brothers will definitely take us down for that. But so Warner owns the rights to that song, but it's The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot, and I will copy the link and post it in the chat room right now.
Heck
if you'd like to go check that out. It's a good song. Willie hasn't heard it yet?
I have not. I have not heard it. yeah, I don't see.
Thanks, Lynn. Yeah, everybody go listen to the song I put in the chat after this. It'll tell you the whole story. So, Willie, are you still looking for something there? Bud?
I'm pretty much not. I was just looking. There was like this thing that has like a list of things that people have said. They do talk about single complacency, and there were some people that were aware. Legal settlement. Okay, can I just read that really quick?
Yeah,
and then we're gonna get out of here. Okay. Under the maritime law, ships fall under the jurisdiction of the Admiralty Courts. I don't know what that is. Admiralty Courts or maritime law is a body of law that governs nautical issues in private maritime disputes. Okay, so that's what they are. Of their flag country, as Edmund Fitzgerald was sailing under the U.S. flag, even though she sank in foreign Canadian waters, she was subject to the U.S. Admiralty law with a value of $24 million. Edmund Fitzgerald's financial loss was the greatest in the Great Lakes sailing history. In addition to the crew, 26,116 long tons, or 29,250 short tons. So I guess that's the difference. Is about 3 tons, a long ton and a short ton of taconite sank along with the vessel. Two widows of crewmen filed a $1.5 million lawsuit against Edmund Fitzgerald's owners, Northwestern Mutual, and its operators, Oblige Norton Corporation, 1 week after the sink. In addition, $2.1 million lawsuit was later filed. Subsequently filed a petition in the U.S. District Court seeking to limit their liability to $817,920 in connection with the other lawsuits filed by the families and crew members. So it sounds like it doesn't look like they made any money that I can see off of this. If anything, they paid money out to the families.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I would say at that point, yeah. I mean, there was the only contingency I could think of is if somebody had made some money in the back end somewhere. You know what I mean? But not seeing
Willie's
that,
always trying to find the money path, the money trail.
I mean, you have to look at it. You have to look at it.
Follow the money.
You gotta look at the money. I think ultimately it's what happened. It seemed suspect to me at first for the not being able to dive, but with nobody making any money off of this, I'm gonna say solid 2 for me. It's just tragic.
Solid.
Mysterious in the fact that we just don't have an exact answer where we're guaranteed. Because even on the official report to today, it says this is the most widely accepted answer. Because they just don't know. Yeah. So, but
nobody's surviving to tell us.
Not a single person.
Well, thanks, guys, for hanging out with us tonight on this Sunday. I know it's not always easy for everybody to hang out on Sunday, but we appreciate you being here in the chat room. And if you could please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And after the show, it'd really help us a lot if you left a comment after the video. That'd be awesome. And make sure to check us out. In 2 weeks from now, we're going to be doing the UFO, the 1994 Michigan UFO flap. So make sure you are subscribed and you got alerts turned on so you can hang out with us next Sunday, the Sunday after this coming Sunday. And we will see you guys next time. Thanks a lot. Big Willie, thanks for being here, bud.
Heck yeah.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace.